Hello, everyone. This is Joey Lindstrom with the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Thank you for joining us today for our presentation on the Our Homes, Our Voices National Housing Week of Action and how we can do some planning for local events and national events. We have a good group with us today, and we will go through some policy updates. We will also provide some updates about what's happening on local events, and then we'll give you a review of resources. The speakers for today will include Elaine Weiss from our policy team, who will talk a little bit about the federal budget, which of course is the primary focus of our advocacy with Week of Action. Tori Beret from our field team will chat a little bit about local events and national events. I'll chat a little bit about resources, and then Lisa Marlowe from our communications team will chat about some best practices for sharing and promoting your events through social media and other conventional media. So that's the agenda as we have it lined up. We will have plenty of time for questions and discussions toward the end. Two things I'll say right off the bat are that we will have a recording of the webinar today sent out to all of you automatically tomorrow. We will also be posting that recording on the resources portion of the Our Homes, Our Voices webpage. Additionally, please note that you can ask questions anytime throughout the presentation. The questions box is in the panel at the right-hand side of your screen, and it should be toward the bottom. If any of you desire to use closed captioning during this presentation, we provided the website URL for that in the waiting screen, and you should be able to find that and get captions. All right, so as many of you know, Our Homes, Our Voices was started last year as NLIHC's effort in conjunction with the Campaign for Housing and Community Development Funding to participate in the nationwide wave of resistance. And in our case, the nationwide wave of resistance was with regard to the really deep cuts that President Trump had proposed to housing programs. Last year, we had a really successful week of action that we threw together in about 60 days. And just in 2 months, we had 61 local events put together that were held during our week of action. These included large rallies. These included simple tweet storms. These included teach-ins and open houses and site visits at affordable housing programs. So we had a wide variety of different local events last year, and we feel that these local events, in combination with other really important advocacy steps that we took, were what brought us a pretty positive FY18 federal budget. Elaine's going to talk a little bit more about the successes we had last year and the overview of what we face in terms of our challenges for this year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Elaine.
Great, thank you, Joey.
Elaine. Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks, Joey. So as Joe alluded to just a moment ago, the advocacy work from last year really paid off in the final spending bill for fiscal year 18. Just on the last day of our national conference, we got the really good news that because of all the hard work done by advocates and our champions on the Hill, HUD programs received a 10% increase in funding over 2017 funding levels. So that ends up being an increase of $4.7 billion, which is quite significant. And this, of course, came about because of the spending deal that was put together. It's a 2-year spending deal to lift the tight limits on federal spending. And while that's great that they got a funding deal, in the past when there have been funding deals, HUD has not gotten its fair share of that additional funding. So thanks to the hard work of advocates, this year we made sure that that didn't happen again. And we definitely want to make sure that happens again next year, that HUD gets its fair share. So what does the fiscal year 18 omnibus do? Well, it fully funds voucher renewals, as well as it provides enough for an additional 60,000 new vouchers, and that's for family unification, for helping people with disabilities move into communities rather than having to live in an institutional setting, helps homeless veterans find housing. It provides significant new funding for public housing. It increases the Public Housing Capital Fund by $800 million. This is a huge injection of funding into the program, which has been largely underfunded year after year. So this will help public housing agencies, pay for new boilers and fix leaky roofs. Right now, there's a huge capital backlog, and this will definitely help PHAs across the country. It also provides full funding to renew all project-based rental assistance. It provides an additional $130 million for homeless assistance. This amount will help tens of thousands of people move from homelessness to housing, so that is very welcome news. It provides new resources to help provide seniors and people with disabilities with an affordable place to call home. And it also increased funding for the Home and CDBG program, which helps which will provide communities with more resources, flexible resources to address their greatest housing needs. So next slide, please.
Next slide.
Great, thank you. So now that fiscal year 18 has closed, the bill has been passed, we've now moved on to fiscal year 19. So again, talking through that deal that I had mentioned before, the cap for non-defense discretionary spending is set at $597 billion. That's 3.1% above the amount that was set aside for 2018. So we definitely want to make sure that that going forward, that the gains that we had in this year carry forward into the next year with that increase in funding above the fiscal year 18 level. So the timeline is right now the House and Senate Appropriations Committees, they're starting to work on their fiscal year 19 funding bills for the Transportation HUD subcommittees, as well as the other 11 subcommittees. There's already been some hearings. Secretary Carson was up before the House Transportation HUD subcommittee at the end of March, actually. There are going to be a couple more hearings coming up that have been scheduled. I anticipate more. So then they're going to start actually considering the bills, and they'll likely try to vote as many of these bills out of committee before the August recess. I don't know if that will actually happen, that they get all those bills out. They usually don't, but the Transportation HUD bill, it tends to be mid-pack of the 12 bills and has had some success getting out of the committee. Whether that bill that gets out of committee actually gets debated on the House and Senate floor is a whole other question, given how dysfunctional Congress has been in considering appropriations bills. But what we anticipate more than anything is that come the new fiscal year at the end of September, Congress is likely to pass a continuing resolution. This is a stopgap funding measure that just continues the funding from the previous year for a specific period of time, just to get the lawmakers through the election so they can go off and continue to campaign. And then once the elections are over, they'll likely come back and do another omnibus similar to what they did this year. So again, the goal is for us to sustain the program funding gains that were included in the fiscal year 18 omnibus. We know that HUD programs cost more money each year because they're market driven, and we want to ensure that we don't lose any ground and that all the vouchers are renewed and that all the project-based rental assistance contracts are renewed. We want to hold on to what we got, and if anything, we want to improve on that. So next slide, please. So while I've just given you a lot of good news, I still want folks to be aware that there are still threats out there. And again, President Trump proposed huge cuts to the HUD budget, very similar to what he did last year. And this slide lays out exactly what he's proposing. He's proposing funding that is 22% below the final 2018 budget. That really puts his request into contrast with where we're at now. He would short fund pretty much all the rental assistance programs, leaving 200,000 households without renewal funding for their vouchers, short funding the project-based rental assistance account. He would eliminate the public housing capital account completely, as well as underfund the operating account. He proposes to eliminate several programs, including the National Housing Trust Fund, Home, CDBG, and most importantly, he proposes or the most damaging thing that he proposes in his budget are these policies that would raise rents and increase hardships for assisted residents through work requirements and other policies like that. Fortunately, Congress in the past had, as we've seen last year, rejected these deep cuts that President Trump has proposed, but these new rent policies and work requirements, that's still very much in play in Congress, and we're definitely keeping our eye out on that and trying to inform members of Congress why these policies are so harmful. So the message going forward is we are very grateful and thankful to the increase that we got for the HUD budget, that 10% increase, and that would not have come about without the advocacy work that was done last year through Our Homes, Our Voices, and throughout the year, as well as the hard work of our congressional champions. And we want to keep that momentum going forward into the next year and encourage members of Congress to again reject these really harmful cuts and policy proposals being put forward by the Trump administration. So that's the message that we're carrying throughout the week of action. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Elaine. We're going to move on now to current local events. Tori, take it away.
Hi, everyone. This is Tori, the Housing Advocacy Organizer at MLIC, or one of them, I should say. And this year, we're really excited because we have 16 events so far in 13 different states. So it's great that people have signed up. And these are the sites so far that we have listed on our site, but we keep getting more coming in. I've just gotten a couple more actually within the last hour today. So some examples of events that people are doing and hosting in their organizations or in their states. New Jersey is hosting a event where they are having people do local events at homes, and they're going to be talking about different affordable housing issues there. We also have a group in Tennessee that will be doing a tent city event focusing on affordable housing and solidarity with those experiencing homelessness. And then they're going to try to get some legislators to come out to that event as well. We have a group in Florida that's going to do a Know Your Rights workshop with tenants, people from the ages between 18 and 24. So that's going to be a great event. And then we have a variety of other events, including webinars and as well as in-person visits with their legislators and tours of facilities that legislators are going to come out to. So really, the options are unlimited in terms of what kind of events you can put together for the day of action. No event is too small, is really too small. So we would love it if you could submit your events to our website so we can get people in your states interested and engaged and signed up for the events that you're hosting, and so that we can get other folks in other states to get interested in signing up and participating for our week of action. So this is just an example of what a a post on our website looks like under local events. So what we want to collect from you all is the organization that is hosting the event, where the event is located, who the main contact is, and what their contact information is when the event is taking place, the time and location for the event, and then just a brief description about what the plans are for the day of, and any additional follow-up information. And our website is ourhomesourvoices.org.
Yeah, this is Joey on the field team. Please submit any local events that you're working on to us. We know there are a lot more events being planned than we currently have listed, so we're hoping to make it look like a groundswell of activities. If you can, we also really like it when you can put together a Facebook event or a blog post with all of the information for your event so that we can share that with the details, and people who want to be involved in your community can find your event through that process.
Great. And then we also have some national events that people can participate in during our week of action. So our call-in day, where we're encouraging our people in our network to call their legislators about affordable housing, is Monday, May 7th. And then we are also doing a Capitol Hill press conference on Tuesday, May 8th at 10 a.m. and a tweet storm later that afternoon, Tuesday at 2 p.m. So now I'd like to turn it over to Kathleen Blaschke to speak about the event that she organized last year for Our Homes, Our Voices.
Kathleen, we might have to unmute you. Just 1 second before you say hello. All right, so as Tori mentioned, we had a lot of great different kinds of events last year, and today what we'll do is we'll highlight just a couple of them that happened in 2017 so that those experiences might be informative to you who are planning for 2018. Kathleen, I have you unmuted now if you would like to share. Kathleen, are you there? Okay, it looks like we might be having some technical problems with Kathleen. Let's see if we can chat about the events that we had in Michigan last year. This will be Laurel Birchfield from the Michigan Coalition Against Homelessness. Laurel, you are unmuted. Would you like to chat about the event you guys held in Lansing last July?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
We hear you fine. Thanks, Laurel.
Excellent. Well, thank you for inviting me to speak about our event last year. We decided to host a rally at our state capitol, and we called it How Housing Changed My Life. We partnered with 4 other state partners, including our National Association of Social Workers, Michigan chapter, a community development group, Community Action, and Habitat for Humanity. And our goal was really to bring together individuals who have gone through homelessness personally to tell their stories in front of an audience and in front of the Capitol, because we wanted to get our state legislators to pay attention to this issue. Even though it was a federal ask, we felt it was important that our state legislators understand how funding really does impact those who are experiencing homelessness in our state. So we identified 10 individuals, and they came from all over the state, including, if anybody knows the geography of Michigan, up north, which is quite a drive for us, as well as Detroit and the western part of the state. They all came out to share some of their stories. And our speakers spoke for about 3 to 5 minutes. A couple went a little bit longer, but they really told these incredibly personal stories. And we had people in the audience who were cheering, who were laughing. I saw a couple of people kind of close to tears. So it was a very emotional event for us. And we really wanted to empower our speakers to share what they've gone through. We had 2 state legislators who were in the audience, as well as staff from our Congressional Senate offices. And because of this event, we've really been able to move forward with some cool initiatives. We have launched a speakers bureau, which is our attempt to try and replicate this around the state with getting individuals trained with public speaking skills and then scheduling engagements for them to speak in front of different audiences. And some of the individuals who spoke at the rally are now part of our Speakers Bureau. So that's just building into our mission to empower those who have gone through homelessness. We've also built deeper relationships with our state legislators, including the two who attended the rally. We've gotten them to actually sleep out in front of the Capitol as part of our sleep out event during Homeless Awareness Week. We have gotten them to go out on street outreach events with our PATH team. We've actually gotten one of them to sponsor multiple pieces of state legislation just in the past couple of months. So this event really started that relationship and put this issue in front of the public, put it in front of our elected officials, and has given us a lot of stuff to work with our mission moving forward.
That's great. Thanks, Laurel. Before we move on to any questions, what I'm going to do is see if we can get Kathleen to share about the Santa Barbara event. So Kathleen, I'm going to unmute you. And this event is a little bit different than what Laurel was sharing about, which was primarily a rally with a lot of people who have personally experienced homelessness. Kathleen, what they did in Santa Barbara was an event hosted at a public housing location that involved many of the young residents in public housing and also involved several of the local elected officials. Kathleen, if you're there, I've got you unmuted. Let's see if we can make it work this time. Kathleen, are you there? Okay, well, it looks like we're still having some technical difficulties getting Kathleen to be heard by the rest of the audience. So why don't we move on right now to some best practices. I see that several of you have submitted questions into the questions box. Please keep doing so, and then at the end, we'll have an opportunity to read those questions. Also, you'll notice that you have an opportunity to raise your hand in the control panel at the right, and what we'll do toward the end is unmute you so that you can ask your questions over the air. We've only got about 45 people on this webinar, so we feel like we should be able to have a pretty open conversation. For right now, let's talk about some of the best practices for a successful local event. And let's start by sharing about communications considerations. So I'll turn it over to Lisa Marlowe here at NLIHC. Lisa, take it away.
Hi, everyone. This is Lisa again. I'm in the communications team with the coalition. So last year, the last week in July, the Our Homes, Our Voices campaign received over 40 media hits. And during the tweet storm on July 26th, we received over 22,000 impressions, and the hashtag Our Homes, Our Voices was used over 7,000 times, including tweets from Senator Dick Durbin and Senator Patrick Leahy, all acknowledging the importance of the campaign. So I'm sure if I could hear you guys would tell me that we'll be able to beat those numbers this year. I'm confident that we can, but of course, we can't do it alone. We have to do it with the full energy and enthusiasm from everyone participating, and even those who can't participate. We need everyone to vocalize the importance of the campaign and share any information that they have about their own specific campaign as well as campaigns in their communities. So as you can see on the slide, that's my first point, is that you want to share, and share some more. Now, the coalition has created a Facebook group page. I would really encourage everyone to join that page. We use that page to share pictures, videos, events. What you can also do with that page is if you utilize the cross-posting feature, once you post an event on your page, well, automatically you can cross-post it with the coalitions, and then you can also reach the coalition's over 10,000 friends. As well as I would encourage everyone again to share any pictures, any videos. The videos do not need to be well produced. It could be something taped on someone's cell phone, maybe like a 30-second shout out to the other people who are helping you at events, maybe just a quick snippet of what you guys are doing to prepare for your event, or maybe just like, a face-to-face interview talking about the importance of the campaign. videos and pictures get higher traction on social networks than just regular text posts. So I would definitely encourage everyone to just document your activities and get the discussion moving. Utilize all of your social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that stuff to share your messaging. And I think Joey had mentioned before that we definitely encourage everyone to share the importance of the campaign through blogs and op-eds. I would definitely encourage everyone to do so now. Start utilizing your networks, your local media, your print media, your traditional medias. Start letting everybody know, hey, we have this event planned for this day, and we're expecting a good group, and this is why we want to do it. Start reaching out to those networks now. I would definitely encourage, if you guys are reading an article and you see a reporter writing anything remotely related to the campaign, you might want to just ping that reporter, send them an email, send them a tweet, and just give them a heads up that hey, you're doing an event in your town, and why don't you check it out, or reach out to me if you want more details. Now, reporters and politicians are primarily use Twitter a lot to communicate, so you definitely want to either tag a reporter or a politician that you want to call out, or you can thank that politician or reporter for a piece or for a policy that they've done, just by tagging them in either a picture or in their mentions. Definitely, I would encourage everyone to use Facebook to mobilize their communities. Again, you can use Facebook to share your events, to share any activities that you're doing towards your event. And I think one other little trick too that you could use is that if you created, say for instance, a tweet about your event, you could tweet it out, and then you could tweet it out again, and then you could retweet it, just keep retweeting it, the same tweet, just periodically throughout the day, or every other day. Also, you could pin a post either to your Twitter profile or to your Facebook profile, and that way people, as soon as they go to your page, that will be the first post that they see on your page. So hopefully everybody will be able to share and share some more. Don't think things are going to be repetitive, because what happens is that different news feeds pick up different timelines at different moments. So just be sure to share and continue sharing, and do that now. So that's it for me, Joey.
All right, thanks so much, Lisa. And I really want to emphasize the importance of social media in connecting all of our local events to one another. It's that hashtag Our Homes, Our Voices. It's the Our Homes, Our Voices Facebook group that really weaves the common thread to what so often can feel like isolated local events when we're sort of doing our own events locally. By doing them all at one point, they can get a lot more attention, and knowing that it's part of a national narrative can help to attract local media attention as well. I know when I attended several Week of Action events last year, we really got a lot of great local media attention. At 5 of the events that I attended, there were local news TV stations participating and broadcasting about what was going on. And I think the media really responds to knowing that these are events taking place on a national scale in a local context, right? So what we try to do for Week of Action is make it as easy for you as possible, right? So many of you who are attending today's webinar are already planning to conduct activities from May 1st to May 8th as part of our Week of Action. Some of you are thinking about it, but you're not really sure what you can pull off. And what I'm here to say today is that we have a lot of the resources that you might need. So I'm going to go through just sort of a list of what we're providing and how it can be useful to you. The first is we've got some how-tos on the resources page of the ourhomes-ourvoices.org website. And the how-tos explain if you were to put together a press event or a teach-in or a call-in day or a rally? What are some of the most important considerations in planning and executing such an event? It sort of walks you through the basics of how to put things together, and it walks you through the basics of how to put together, for example, a Facebook event page so that you can draw people to RSVP for your event and to participate. We also have a template press release that you can take and modify, put your own logo on it, put your own times and locations on it, and then get that press release out to local media. Likely you have a great local media list. If you'd like to get in touch with us and see what we might have for your community, we'd be happy to share that as well. We have a template letter to the editor, and we also have an invitation to elected officials. Last year, some of our best events involved local elected officials. In Boston, Mayor Marty Walsh participated in their big rally. Mayor Ted Wheeler in Portland, Oregon participated in a rally there. At the teach-in and community event that we had in Santa Barbara, we had Mayor Kathleen Schneider from Santa Barbara in attendance as well. Last year's event in Los Angeles involved a speaker from the mayor's office, one of the staff people. So inviting elected officials can often be helpful to building the crowd. It can also be helpful to building local media attention. If you go to the resources page on the website, you'll also find lots of different logos that you can use. And these logos can be put on the fact sheets, the letters that you're having people fill out and send in and so forth. The logos can be used as consistent branding so that we all feel like we're participating in the same event. There are social media images that are already designed to be the appropriate size as a Facebook cover photo or a Twitter header. And these social media images are specifically designed for those specific platforms. We also have posters that you can print out, and these include posters with blank spaces at the bottom where you can print a general poster for Our Homes, Our Voices, and then at the bottom you can sort of type in or write in the time and the location of your local event and put those up to promote the event. You've seen many of the posters and some of the pictures that we've had in today's webinar. There are also a lot more photos available on the website. They're pretty good poster products, and I think you'll see that a lot of people use them last year in creative ways. On the Santa Barbara slide that we shared earlier, you saw that these images were infographics and posters that were standing on displays behind the speakers at the Santa Barbara event. Now, this wasn't something that the event hosts in Santa Barbara needed to put together themselves. They just used the posters that we had and then had them printed onto display boards. Beyond posters, we also have fact sheets and flyers. And then we also have postcards and letters. And the postcards were a really big hit at a lot of events last year. The postcards were just an opportunity for people to sign their name onto a postcard that asks for robust federal funding for housing programs through HUD and USDA. And we got a lot of those sent in to members of Congress throughout Week of Action. Something new that we'll be making available on the resources page is a template presentation on the federal budget. Earlier in this presentation, we had Elaine chat a little bit about the federal budget, and many of you might be interested in doing that at your local events. If you want people in your community to know more about what's going on with federal housing programs and why that matters to the communities and to the constituencies that you all work with. This would be a template PowerPoint that you could use and add in your own logo, your own header, your own local facts and figures to support our points about what's going on at the federal level and the threats that still exist for FY19 because of the president's budget request. Those are some of the resources, but more than anything, we want to be able to give you what you need to have a successful event. So we hope you'll be in touch with us to let us know if there's anything missing on the resources page or if there's any way we could modify it and make it useful to you. Okay, so beyond just those resources for a successful event, we also have all kinds of great merchandise. We did a little bit of this last year. We had t-shirts. This year we've put up a lot of different stickers, hats, there's even water bottles, so forth. Those can be ordered through our website. It's really just through Cafe Press. We've got it all set up through there. You can order those. To make sure that they get to you in time for your event, you probably want to order those within the next week. You'll notice that a lot of our branded materials this year are about voting, and that's because, of course, this is an election year, and all of Congress, all of the House of Representatives, and 34 senators will be up for election this year. So we're really trying to emphasize the Our Homes, Our Votes concept in a lot of our branding. Now, some of you might see on our website there's a specific part that's dedicated to voter engagement. At the National Low Income Housing Coalition, we've rebranded our voter engagement activities as Our Homes, Our Votes, and that is an ongoing campaign beyond just Week of Action, but we very much hope you'll consider putting voter registration or informing voters about candidate positions on housing as part of what you're doing for Week of Action. It actually can be a really simple element to add, setting up a voter registration table. I know I was at an event last year in San Rafael, California, that was put together by some residents of a Mercy housing property there, and they set up a voter registration table, knowing that many people who were moving into this senior living facility likely had moved in recently and needed to update their registration. And we thought that was a really good feature of a local event. Getting back, though, to merchandise, there's a lot of really cool stuff on the website. We encourage you to check it out. And if you think the stickers or the buttons or the hats or the shirts can add to your event, please do order some of those. We're not, of course, putting any markup on those. We're just making them available at the price that the producer requires. So the production price is what we have there. Okay, so those are some of the resources we have. Those are some thoughts on some best practices. We had Laurel join us to share about the big rally they did in Lansing last year. There are other people who are on the webinar who participated last year. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read through some questions that people have entered into the questions box, and we'll take a few of those. But while I'm doing that, if you have an additional question, or if you'd like to share some thoughts about what made your 2017 local event strong or successful, please go ahead and click on the hand to raise your hand in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. And we can, if all the technology works, unmute you, and you can share your thoughts or your questions. For right now, it looks like I have a quick question for Elaine. Do we have an update on the work requirement policy? Were they included in the executive order President Trump signed on Tuesday on work requirements for federal aid? Elaine, do you have anything to share on that question?
Sure. So we had anticipated legislation being released that captured the language that was in the fiscal year 19 budget request. We had seen a leaked draft of that legislation that did include work requirements, quite arbitrary work requirements with no resources to help people connect to good paying jobs and get training. But lo and behold, HUD wasn't able to get their act together, and they still haven't put that legislation out, which is not a bad thing. But as far as the executive order that came out this week, there was language in there directing the HUD secretary to look at housing programs and to look at how work requirements can be incorporated into those programs. Of course, the HUD secretary and HUD itself just can't go about implementing work requirements in that way. It requires legislation, but we're still keeping our eye out on the executive order and what its implications are.
Oh, sorry, everyone. It looks like we had a pause there because we had a technology problem and I was muted. And when I say technology problem on this one, I mean user error. Our next question really is just that we have another budget-related question, but a simpler one, which is what expenses and programs are covered under NDD? This is an acronym that many of you often hear. It's actually non-defense discretionary spending. So it covers all programs under the federal budget that are not related to the Pentagon or war or defense. So everything from agriculture to education to national parks to housing programs, that's all covered in what we call NDD or non-defense discretionary. Okay, so at this point, I'd like to remind all of you that you can raise your hands to ask questions about local events. And it looks like we got a bunch of people putting questions in the questions box. Oh, no, it looks like these questions are about, will the recording be posted? Yes, the recording will be posted. As it is right now, it looks like I have no further questions, and it looks like I have no hands raised. So I'll give you just another moment if you'd like to post another question, but I'll also just add, it looks like we've got a lot of people on the webinar today, a number much greater than the events that we have listed on our website. So if you are thinking about doing an event, please do let us know, and please do get in touch. And you might be wondering, well, how do I get in touch? Well, it turns out we have some information for that. As you look at the screen, this is the four of us who you've heard from today, myself and Tori on the field team, Elaine on our policy team, and Lisa from the communications team. Please be in touch with any of us as you're figuring out how to execute the best possible event in your community. And additionally, let us know when you're ready to have your event up on the website and publicized. I'd like to remind you that all of the resources on the webpage should make putting together a week of action event very easy in your community. We've been working on this very hard, and I should also add some thanks to our key partners at the Campaign for Housing and Community Development Funding, who have been working on this very hard along with us, including the National Housing Trust, Stewards for Affordable Housing's Future, Enterprise Community Partners, National Alliance to End Homelessness. We have a lot of great national partners who have been involved, and we thank them for promoting this in their networks as well. So that's all of our contact information. We always close our webinars by encouraging people to become members of the National Low Income Housing Coalition. And oh, it looks like we do have two new questions that we can ask. One is, are there any entities with social media events outside of what NLIHC is saying we should post? So this might be a question about some of our national partners and if they're doing their own sort of social media template messages. Right now, I'll say not that I'm aware of. But it might be true that some of our partners on this project, like Habitat for Humanity International, or NARO, or other agencies that work specifically on public housing authorities, might have some of their own messaging, and we encourage them to blast that out through their networks as well. Do we have any other questions at this time? Please feel free to raise your hand or post it in the questions box. All right, going once, going twice. It seems like that's all we have for you today, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us about what makes the best local events. And please know that we'll be in touch shortly about what's going on in your community to see if we can get it listed up on our website. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.